Today I have exactly 1 hour to make a sample beat. The first version of me is going to travel to the city center flea market and look for some samples on the old vinyl records with MPC, while the second version of me is going to stay at home with Push 3 and look for the sample on Tracklib. Moreover, at the end of this video, people from the street will listen to the two beats and say which they like more. Interesting? Of course, I'm also intrigued. Let's find out. For some reason I didn't think of the traffic jams when I set the timer. Of course, it's Saturday today and it should be easier on the roads, but for some reason all of the people are driving to the city center as well. It's getting warmer now and people want to go for a walk. In the city center there is a place which is called Dry Bridge and there is a legendary flea market. They sell basically everything, and among all those antique things you can look for the vinyl records. Usually they are from the 60s and the 70s of the Soviet Georgian time period. Most of the Georgian bands at that time, they sound really funky, really groovy. I like it so much. And I think I have found something really interesting here today. Speaking of me, I'm in no rush because I don't stay in traffic jams. I can make some coffee for me, feed the cats, of course, and look through the samples on Tracklib. So I found this wonderful record on the flea market. This is a vinyl record from Georgia. This is the Soviet time Georgian band and Georgian record. One track in particular drew my attention, which I'm not gonna tell you any names or something, I'll just show you. One interesting fact about Georgian music of 60s, 70s, 80s is when you listen to these tracks, when you listen to these albums, they are just extremely groovy. This is so funky. Let me play you the record that I chose for sampling today, and yeah, let's basically begin. Alright, so first of all, let me show you the record that I chose. It's a really cool sounding track. But I'm not gonna take that part, although it's really nice. Let's move forward. And yeah, this is the groove that I'm talking about. Let's chop this part. And by the way, new MPC function stems really helps a lot, because if you listen closely, there is some vocal in the background that wasn't removed completely, but still the quality is nice, and in the original the vocals were sounding much louder. So now we're able to use these parts if we decide to use them at all. Let's convert that. Before I start recording the melody or pattern that I find, I lay down some drums that will help me to feel the groove better. 16 levels as usual. Now that I have laid the drums, it will help me to find the melody better, because I will listen to this groove. Let's try. Now let's move forward and look for some development in the track. Basically, I haven't come up with something more creative, but I played double time faster. And while I was listening to the chops, I found that guitar sound. We really need to take these parts. Right now we're lacking some bass, so for the bass I prefer using the inbuilt synthesizer Fabric XL, which has nice presets of bass. I remind you that if you want to learn all these instruments professionally, MPC, Push 3, SP404, I have a special educational program prepared for you. You can find the link with more information in the description of this video. So at the Tracklib website I have found a very atmospheric sample. I think it was a soundtrack to some film. Let's listen to it. I chopped it into these sections. I also like the guitar part in here. Sounds very brutal, like Stu Banger's vibe or something like that. This website, Tracklib, is extremely useful because this is basically vinyl store record at home. You can browse by the country, by the time period, it's just crazy. You can add a lot of filters, for example, looking for drums specifically. This is the drum break that I chopped, and first of all, we will start with hi-hats. We'll press layout and find 16 velocity level like on MPC. This is already instant groove, I like doing that so much. I like this groove so much, my head is already nodding. This is a good sign that we're going in the right direction. Now let's write the melody. I think this one will work. I like this one. I'm grooving. I feel it. You know what, I've been thinking about the pads recently and the size of the pads specifically. So, we all know MPC pads are quite huge compared to Push 3 or SP404. And once MPC 1 came out in 2019, most of the fans on the internet were quite angry with the size of the pads because on MPC 1 the pads are smaller, a bit smaller than on regular MPCs. But then when I got my SP404 that has almost the same size pads as here and on Push 3, I started liking this size of the pads a bit more sometimes, especially when it comes for the drums. MPCs with regular sized pads and other devices with smaller pads, you can play with all of them, you just have to train your fingers. Let's go for the development of the melody. I think I'll go with this one. And for this bass, I chose actually MPC's plugin, which is called Mini D, another replica of Mini Moogs, but I like this because I can make simple sub bass and nothing fancy. Without all the effects plugins, the drums sound like this. I don't like it. Too thin. And now this is with plugins. This is a game changer.
I think the first one, definitely, for me. Because firstly, the second one is slightly more monotonous, kind of heavier, darker. It appeared to me that some gangsters should suddenly appear here and something like that should start happening or unfolding. For me, the first one...
I like the second one much more, and it bangs. Fat and short, a banger. As a demo in general, I think it's great. The headphones are cool.
Well, I suppose the initial one is more akin to light, while the second one is more overwhelming and compact. Probably for the first one, it has more of a certain air, I don't know, like a more relaxed one, I guess.
Honestly, yes, to tell the truth. Well, okay, the second one was more like...
It seemed to me that the second track was somehow more intense, and the first track was more melodic. If I had to choose between the first and the second, I'd choose the first one more. It feels closer to me. If I were to listen on my headphones, it'd be the first track.
I had a positive impression of beat number 2. It's characterized by a greater intensity of anger and a more hardcore sound. yes, I definitely liked it.
So how do you find the results? Write your comments down below. What's your opinion?